Says your admin says, okay, all right.
Okay, we're live, I think. Hi, everybody. Jay Myers here, CEO of Next Generation Manufacturing Canada, and I'm joined today by Billy Rideout, who's the CEO of Exergy. Billy, great to have you with us, and we're working together in so many initiatives around additive, around advanced manufacturing. But first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself and how and Exergy and how you formed Exergy and what you're trying to accomplish.
Sure. Yeah, I'm Billy Rideout here, as Jay said. Thanks for the introduction. Co-founder and CEO of Exergy, and the way I founded Exergy, I guess I worked 17 years in the energy sector, and I had this sense of urgency that we needed to make quicker change and quicker innovation. So it's a big industry, and it has generally high inertia, but with all the focus on reduction of the greenhouse gases, I saw an opportunity to kind of move quicker and see if I can impact some change. So, I mean, Exergy is, we work with companies big and small. We work with energy majors, and we work alongside clean technology companies on their journey of innovation. You know, de-risking and scaling up technology is not easy, and bringing it to market. So, and we see potential for step changes and to make for a cleaner oil and gas and energy sector. So that's been our focus, and we have a pretty motivated team to work on that.
So, Billy, you're talking about some of the challenges scaling up, but also applying those advanced manufacturing solutions to the energy sector. But I'm sure it's not so different than any other sector of industry too. Do you want to tell us a little bit about some of the key challenges that you're facing, and that we can maybe take a look at some solutions in terms of how we address those challenges?
Yeah, sure. Well, I would say is the energy sector is very much a traditional sector. Safety is so important, and they have operations that make gigajoules and barrels of energy that have flammability, and safety is paramount. So I think that one of the bigger challenges of getting adoption of additive manufacturing industry is there's codes and standards. The boiler branches and the organizations, like in Alberta, we have ABSA, and every province has groups that are trying to keep the plant safe. And we need to prove to these regulators that additive manufacturing can safely make parts that have better metallurgy and hold pressure and make sure that all the flammable fluids are kept inside the pipes. So more and more, though, as additive has evolved and the printers get very sophisticated with onboard monitoring and scanning and thermal imaging, you get a lot of data proving that these parts actually have a very high integrity. So that's always been a bit of a gap. And I think what's happening is that additive is now at this maturity point where the energy sector is ready to adopt it. So they're not necessarily a late adopter. They're so safety focused that they need to have all the checks and balances to make sure that they're ready to take it on.
So tell us a little bit about some of the additive solutions that you and Exergy provide to the energy sector, or more generally to the manufacturing sector.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're working with a lot of different companies on solutions and on projects. So some of the projects that we're working on, for example, are in the clean tech space. We're looking at methane decomposition, converting methane into hydrogen, also helping with energy storage devices like flow batteries. So the wind doesn't always blow and the sun doesn't always shine. So renewable energy needs storage devices. So we work on electrochemical cells and energy storage. Like additive brings high surface area and very unique metallurgies to the forefront. So those are examples of projects we've built. Water treatment pilots. So Exergy is a piloting process technology piloting company that leverages additive manufacturing to open the doors and enable these ideas to become fruitful. So uh, anywhere from mineral processing innovations that allow us to eliminate tailings ponds, which is a big issue in Alberta. Um, we even joined an organization called Camina, which is looking at small modular nuclear reactors. So um, the energy sector, the oil sands in particular, they have this pathways to net zero, and by 2050. And small modular nuclear reactors are a great thermal energy source to decarbonize Canada and Alberta's oil industry. So so additive manufacturing may be the secret nugget there to generate the very unique metallurgy and custom geometries that will allow us to unlock, lower costs small modular nuclear reactors. So there's a long list of areas, and sometimes it's a very simple startup that just has a um, that has an idea that can be very impactful, and then we help them, take de-risk their technology. So it's innovations come in many sizes. I think everybody's looking for the big win, and
Mhm.
energy transition is a combination of small wins and big wins, and things as simple as printing nozzles or filters or parts, mixers that are more efficient, or burner tips that are more efficient, and deploying those. Like, those are more quick to deploy technologies. If we can deploy those, it has that little impact that actually, in aggregate, is pretty big.
So, Billy, you've been a real advocate, a champion for advanced manufacturing, but specifically for additive and helping us to bring together a network of additive companies, researchers across Canada. Canada Makes is a network that NGen supports. Tell us a little bit about Canada Makes and what the group is trying to achieve.
Yeah, I mean, Canada Makes is a great group. I was actually in Montreal a couple of weeks ago, sitting at the annual general meeting. And what's nice about that organization is that it allows us. We get a lot of kind of startups that come to our doorstep, and they don't realize that printing like a very specialized part on a metal additive machine is going to be fairly costly. And it's because these are machines that just the capital cost of a machine like this is $2-3 million. So we give them a quote, and they're like, oh, that's too much, and I'm just at the early stage of my company. So Canada Makes is a really great program to go to these startups and say, well, listen, there's a government program. It's as long as you have a great idea, they're willing to jump in and do your first prototype. And we've leveraged the program quite a bit, and I think it's great because to get additive adoption across the country, it's going to be a lot of these little unique use cases and I think Canada Makes definitely enables that.
And thanks for your leadership in that group too. One of the Frank DeFalco on our team has been crucial in bringing that group together and supporting it. And of course, Frank and you and I attended the Hanover Fair as well this year, biggest advanced manufacturing trade show in the world. And I know you spent a lot of time walking the floor there. What were your impressions about Hanover and some of the technologies you saw? Where do you think, does Canada have an advantage in areas like additive?
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to create our advantage in additive. I mean, the rest of the world is, and especially Europe and Germany, are very much, I would almost, if I were to guess, maybe 10 years ahead. I mean, in terms of adoption of the technology and broader adoption, whereas there, we need to get more 3D printers and more advanced manufacturing equipment in Canada. What I saw there, I mean, hydrogen. There was one whole room dedicated to hydrogen, and a lot of people were very passionate about. I mean, it's the smallest kind of hydrocarbon molecule, and it doesn't, when you combust it, it doesn't produce any CO2. So finding ways to produce it efficiently was a big obvious play. Um, what's funny though is when I boarded the plane um, uh, to Frankfurt and then the train over to Hanover, I met up with a company out of Calgary, and they're a canning company, a global canning solutions company, and they make can lines for microbreweries across the world. And they're right here in Calgary, and we actually 3D print little parts that flip the cans around so you can fill it. And I think especially after COVID or during COVID, things like beer are important for everybody, to keep everybody happy. So it's not just energy. Sometimes what we make when we make these investments. So I mean, this company was there looking for more advanced manufacturing automation solutions to make their product competitive because they sell internationally. So I feel like energy transition, if you can reduce the amount of distance that your beer travels, and maybe it doesn't come from Mexico or Germany and it actually is produced locally, this is a circular supply chain kind of thing that we need to encourage. So, I mean, I guess I didn't go there and just, look at beer, but there was a little bit of that to be had as you're allowed to have a little bit of
It
fun
was
as
a
you're
little
trying.
bit.
Yeah. So what else I saw there? I think that there was just robotics, right? Like automation, digitization of businesses, and digitization of manufacturing, and we need to find a way to get more people that are in Canada that are trained in things like mechatronics and that can take computer code and use and create physical objects. And in a large format 3D printing is basically robots anyway. It's a robot arm that makes larger parts. So I think we need to build more proficiency in Canada around, purchase more of these robots and have the schools and polytechnics train more people to operate them and to program them.
Well, I think you put your finger in a really important point, whether it's for industry or for in education, like the practical experience, actually working in a center or demonstration site where you can actually work on these technologies, prove them out, show how these applications work is so important. And I know that's something that that you're extremely interested in doing, and as part of your the future of Exergy. But tell us a little bit about where you see some opportunities here in terms of being able to provide that sort of a center of excellence for adoption of advanced manufacturing technologies, whether that's additive or perhaps other robotics and automation systems or other types of technology as well.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think to set the stage, just so that I think it's important that I will answer that by explaining kind of the starting point where Alberta's at. So, the challenge right now in the energy sector is to significantly reduce GHG emissions, reduce the intensity of operations around air, water, and land. And Exergy has a wealth of experience. Like a lot of the people that worked here worked in the oil patch, and we've seen the energy industry. We've seen what it needs to take that next leap and that next step change improvement. And oddly enough, even though sometimes the oil sands gets a bad rap, we've also created a mining expertise in Canada and Alberta, because the oil sands is a mixture of energy and mining. And as you look at the energy transition, you see there's going to be a greater need for electrification. So, a lot of the things that we're creating in our current lab, and we call it the X Lab, like high wear materials and solutions that help the oil sands and mining industry evolve, can be lifted and shifted into, say, rare earth minerals. So right now we're working with a lot of startups that are looking at lithium extraction to make batteries and energy storage. So we're going to have to pay a price, be it by extracting oil or by making electricity or by making the batteries and storage devices. And what we're well positioned to do is take the expertise in Alberta and repurpose it for this energy transition. Now, the center of excellence that you talk about is probably my most important project going forward here. And I think our first engagement with NGen is we worked on high wear materials and exotic metallurgies, and we purchased a machine that is a collaboration between a UK-based company called Whalen Additive and a Swedish-based company that has a VBN that has very unique open materials that we can produce on this new printer. It's the first in the world and the first in Canada. So this is going to be the first piece of equipment that we're going to be putting in our center of excellence. Um, the center of excellence is, we're opening up a new expanded facility in a part of Calgary called Corey Park, and it's near a community. You know, people can walk to work, bike to work. Not a lot of industrial settings are close to residential areas. So with intent, we've created a more kind of thought out ecosystem of how we want to operate. It's going to give Alberta and Western Canada a bit of a leg up on energy transition and advanced manufacturing. So our plan is to collaborate with polytechnics, universities, and other fabricators in the region that maybe are like CNC shops that aren't as modernized, and we want to make our center of excellence accessible to them so that they can kind of look at their operations, see a world-class 3D printer running, and say, hey, I think that we can solve some problems for our customers and with this technology. It's almost like leading by example and making the facility very accessible to this group of people. And the youth are very excited about. Sometimes we have to kind of keep the doors locked because there's so many people that want to come into Exergy, and especially young new grads, and they want to work with what's next. And so we're pretty excited about the new space.
So let me pick up on that point, because I think it's really really important. One of the big fallacies, of course, about manufacturing is that it's, sort of, a lot of people look at it in terms of old traditional heavy industry, belting out smoke out of smokestacks, and sort of manual repetitive work. But the new, the future of advanced manufacturing isn't like that at all. And I think in many ways it's still a challenge to attract young people into careers in advanced manufacturing. But you're saying that young people are kind of knocking in your door. What's the secret here? What are you providing that is really attracting young people into careers at Exergy, or into careers in additive or advanced manufacturing?
Well, I think that it's the intersection of digital and making things physically, right? And I think we're presenting opportunities that maybe don't exist already, and they kind of want to build things and weld stuff, but their perception is if they were going to kind of go get a welding certificate, they're going to end up, in the oil patch, doing traditional jobs on the back of a truck and fixing problems. And I think when you look, and there's so many new grads that are crazy about coding and things like virtual reality and animations. And when you look at things like advanced manufacturing, you're at the intersection of all that. So what's really neat about it, and I think that makes it very attractive to the youth, is that you got all this digital know-how. They've come from a very digitized point of view because they've grown up with the tech. They probably grew up with a tablet in their hands when they were 4 years old, and to them it's very natural to work in that way. And then they get like things like CAD skills, and they can digitally create something. And then when they actually then press print, and within hours this thing comes out, it's like their creation. It's almost like Frankenstein, right? Like I think it's a way to get the youth back into trades. And these are like sophisticated trades. Like these are, I think it's the most fascinating field to get into. But the IT industry has done a much better job of luring people into that sector. But I've seen a lot of people, it's like, I don't feel like I'm building anything. And I'm like, well, we can with this equipment. A good case in point is like a lot of the space programs and a lot of these, like, you hear about these rockets, and like 90% of the engine components are 3D printed because they're printed in very exotic materials that can resist heat. And so there's a few futuristic little tricks that they really like about playing in this space. And I don't think we've done a great job of advertising what what this looks like. So the Center of Excellence is intended to show them, right? And I think, you know, in the high schools and in the universities, sometimes what they see is a bit of a MakerBot or a pretty primitive machine, and they don't really see the true potential. And what we want to do is bring this equipment into the communities so that, you know, we just 2 weeks ago we had a high school group come in, and they had like a little design a hackathon competition, and like they had the day of their lives. And but I don't think we've created enough opportunities for them to see this career option. And you know, that's the one great thing about NGen is that there's there's a notion of networking and collaborating. Like we collaborate on Alberta's Additive Manufacturing Network that's run by Tanya Wolf up in Red Deer. We collaborate with Canada Makes and the NGen team. We get connected internationally. You know, NGen has connected us with companies across the world that have been there and done that, or that, you know, so there's a collaboration culture that comes with this advanced manufacturing, additive manufacturing, you know, people that are passionate about it, which I think aligns well with how the next generation of workers want to work as well. They want to work collaboratively. They want to hack away at things with, you know, with friends and people, and so there's a lot of reasons they want to work in this space that we just got to show to them.
Yeah, I think that, you know, making stuff and working on the technology, working collaboratively, and as you were pointing out before, working on developing solutions that are really meaningful for the environment or for healthcare, for instance. We know that Exergy and other additive manufacturers played a big role in addressing some of the shortages of critical products, for instance, for the when the pandemic first hit, and doing that not just to bring, you know, standard product to market, but actually to develop new types of products and new capabilities there too.
Yeah, they're looking for meaning, and I would say with COVID, when we built some ventilators, we built Canada's first Health Canada approved ventilator. A lot of the parts were 3D printed, and we built face shields, and there was this real sense of community when COVID hit, and additive manufacturing played a pretty key role with supply chain issues, and I think it still does right now because the supply chain is still not stabilized. So, you know, and that's another opportunity for additive to really make a step change in growth is when you can't get a part, and you're going to wait months, and you have your facility or your plant is down. You can create digital inventories, so essentially 3D scan and reverse engineer parts and then print them in better materials, and, you know, within days. And that's why the Center of Excellence, you know, these machines don't come cheap. It's a chicken and egg starting up an additive business. Like it's hard to it's very capital intensive, but, you know, I'm very committed to bring this technology to Alberta because it's what the province needs right now. If we're going to go through a transition, these are tools that allow us to reinvent ourselves in Western Canada. And I think we have an opportunity to unite the country with this because, you know, Alberta knows energy, and then there's all these energy tech companies that are surfacing in Alberta. Just yesterday, I was at a company called NGen that's just creating amazing things to reduce the methane emissions at the oil field sites. And you could see that if they had the manufacture, like Alberta's used to fabricating and not manufacturing. And then you look at, you know, I'll generalize here and say Ontario and Quebec, there's a manufacturing mentality there because of the auto industry and aerospace and kind of serial production mentality. And I feel there's opportunities for Canadians from East and West to kind of cross-pollinate knowledge and drive innovation forward. So energy know-how from Alberta combined with manufacturing know-how from Eastern Canada could really go a long way in making some headway here for the country.
Well, and especially as you say too, in addressing some of the big challenges, everybody's facing supply chain shortages of one sort or another right now, and so the ability to come up with new solutions, new design, new types of product, new materials is pretty key to any sort of initiative to. And I don't really mean reshoring. I mean building up local centers or local networks of advanced manufacturing capability here in Canada.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should create a hub for local centers and hubs and at some of the accessible major centers or whatever across Canada. Like I'm originally from New Brunswick, where fishing and marine and shipbuilding and all that is a mainstay. So, and the university that I went to in UNB, they're looking at the Marine Center of Excellence, and then you go to places like Saskatchewan, where agriculture is their mainstay, and then you go to Ontario, where manufacturing and aerospace and Quebec as well, and then I feel like there's opportunities to build like a center of excellence hubs across the country, so that people can drive within 2 or 3 hours and see what a serious piece of advanced manufacturing equipment looks like. Then they can go back to their businesses and think about modernization, think about collaborating with these companies to drive innovation forward. So I think it would be very fruitful for our country to invest in these centers, and you got to see it to become a believer. And then when we give tours of our lab, like people just their jaws drop, like they're just like, I did not like it was a lot of them say this was the best day of the year for me. Like I was wow. And so we need to get more people through these hubs, and yeah, it would be very it would be a linchpin for driving Canada forward.
So I was going to ask you what the future holds for Exergy, but I think you've kind of explained where you'd like to go with the company and with the center, and it's as far as NGen's concerned, I think a real priority for us to support an initiative like this. So want to stress how important we see this, and also the support that we'll continue to offer to Exergy and all of your partners here.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. I think it's something that we cannot do alone. It's not for the faint of heart. And when we know that we're not alone, and we know that we have people with expertise, and I'll just add quickly, like what I found working with NGen is you're not working with just people that are kind of administering a grant program or an assistance program. Like you're working with people that actually understand manufacturing. They understand the different verticals. They get your business, and I think that's been key to how you've grown the NGen team, is that there's on the other end of the phone line, there's somebody that gets it and that understands the challenges we're faced with, and I think that's been just instrumental to our success so far working with NGen.
No, well, thanks. That's important for us, and important for us to hear too. I'll make sure the rest of the team hears that as well. But we've got such a dynamic group, expert group there that just a pleasure to be able to support very, very the leadership, the vision, and the technology, of course, that's coming out of Exergy.
Cool.
Billy, thanks a lot for joining me today.
Thank you. Thanks for your time, and have a great day.
Great. Thanks, Billy.
Okay, bye.